Hi guys, let's see how I created this beautiful mandala using craft resin. It's odorless, non-toxic, non-flammable, bubble-free and low viscosity. Resin can be toxic and may release fumes, so to protect yourself, wear rubber gloves and a respirator mask. And make sure when you're using your resin, it's in well-ventilated area. And the other products that I've used to make this mandala will be listed in my description box. And let's begin. So now I'll be using Chameleon Magic Wand in color pink. It's much easier to use compared to the pigment powder, as you don't see any flyaways. Using the magic wand, I'm going to cover the petals. Make sure you don't miss out any area. Once done, we're going to move to the next step. Using craft resin in a small batch, I have divided my resin in two parts, adding antique gold glitter to my resin. Make sure you do not exceed the ratio of your glitter and resin. Mix everything well so it's combined together. Here I'm taking an empty cup. I usually recycle my cups so there's less wastage. So basically I'm going to use a piping bag. You can make your own bag. Since I have some piping bags with me, I'm going to use this. So pour your resin in the piping bag. I'm going to use the elastic rubber band to tie my piping bag, and make sure your elastic band is tight enough. Similar to the gold, I have made one more piping bag using the opaque white pigment. Using a scissor, I'm going to cut a tiny corner and make sure your nozzle is not very big, or else your resin is going to flow everywhere. Before you proceed to this step, make sure your resin is not very flowy and it's in thick consistency. Using the white resin, I'm going to cover the entire petals. Make sure you do not pour excess resin here, only enough to cover the petals. If you do pour any extra resin, basically it's going to flood out of the boundaries and you won't be able to see the design. Hence, that's the reason that you want your resin to be in thick consistency while this step. I'm going to add a little bit of resin to every petal before moving to the next one. I can come back and do a touch-up. Need to give some time to resin to flow to the areas that it wants to. So basically during this step my white resin got finished and I wasn't able to cover all the areas, so I will be doing a second round after this. So using the silicone stirring stick, make sure you do not use anything pointed on a silicone mold and you don't damage your mold. I'm going to push the resin to the borders and I'll follow this step to every petal here. If I miss any area, I know I have a chance to come back and correct it later. So using the glitter now, I'm going to cover the area that I wanted to as per my design. Once it was dry, I came back next with opaque white resin. This time only using the stirring stick, I covered the areas which I missed last night. Once I know my resin is dry and I won't be disturbing it with my hand, I went carefully with pink glitter resin and added to the square and in the center. And also I did go back with the golden glitter to fill the areas that I had missed previously. So once my resin is dry, next day I came back to do a next layer of resin using the opaque pigment in aquamarine. Before doing this pour, I'm going to pull resin up just to see how opaque it is and if I need to add any additional pigment to it. Using the blowtorch, I'm going to quickly run through on top of my resin to get rid of any bubbles. Make sure you're using your blowtorch from a safe distance so you do not damage your mold and burn your resin. So I'm going to use this small umbrella to cover my resin so it is free from any dust and unwanted guest. I'm so excited to demold this one just to see how the front looks like. So it's all cured. 24 hours later, let's demold and see the final results. This isn't like 100% cure now. I still need to give it a few hours. So it's 100% cured and it's solidifies. And it turned out to be so beautiful. Let me know in the comment section if you love this combination and do you wish to see this in any different color. So I did try something very fancy and it didn't work out. You're gonna see it shortly. Using the white acrylic paint and the acrylic flow medium, I can't remember the name now. You can see in the description box below what exactly it is. Mixing everything well together, I used a bottle with needle nozzle and added all the acrylic paint in it. Be a little patient and careful while doing this step. You don't want to create a mess which you have to clean it later. Once done, make sure you close your bottle and you don't want your acrylic paint to dry. So here is my fancy step which I did try and it didn't work out. Using the needle tip, I wanted to use it only on the engravings, so I have to do less cleaning. But to be honest, I wasn't patient, or maybe I didn't do it properly. It eventually did work out. So quickly I switched to the old traditional style, the way I used to do it, and I prefer to do that way only, because when you're using your hand you can make sure you push the acrylic paint in the engravings so there is less area missing the paint and your design looks more enhanced. So quickly using my hand I covered the entire piece. So next step is basically cleaning this acrylic paint. Earlier I used to use a cotton pad which sometimes leaves the lint on top of your resin. So this time I tried to use this polishing cloth which can be reused over and over again. So a lot of people ask me what I use basically to clean the acrylic paint. It's rubbing alcohol. You can buy it from any pharmacy. Rubbing alcohol 90%. And to be honest, using this polishing cloth made my life so much easier. So there's basically less flyaways which you get it from your cotton pad, and the results were amazing. I will definitely recommend this for you to try. So basically I'm going to use a magic wand again just to touch up my petals. If anything turned to be lighter now because of rubbing alcohol on top of it. And what I've noticed is compared to the pigment powder, your magic wand lasts much longer comparatively. I love to do top coat on my resin pieces. Using craft resin, I'm gonna do a final pour on this piece. So my acrylic paint that has been used on the engraving is concealed properly. When you're doing your final pour, make sure your resin is in thick consistency. Usually when the resin gets a little thicker and tends to drier, it pulls back from the edges. So you do pour the adequate amount on the edges as well. So using the big stirring stick, I'm gonna push the resin to the edges so all the area is covered and there is no empty space. So using the blowtorch, I'm gonna quickly run through on top of my top coat so there are no bubbles. Just keep an eye on your piece and come back after like a few minutes just to see if there are any empty space or the resin has been pulled back from the corner. So make sure you add any extra resin to that space. And a final run through a blowtorch just to keep everything clear and crisp. And let's cover the piece and come back tomorrow and see the final result. And here's the final result of this gorgeous mandala. I have 3 available sizes on my shop. Let me know in the comment section if you love this tutorial. Thank you very much.